Hello everybody and welcome to Story Time. My story times for the next few days are going to be read from this book, which is called Running on the Roof of the World by Jess Butterworth. Now this story is set in Tibet, which is a country on the border of China. Now here's the map here of China. Can you see China here? And you can see India here. Okay, now Tibet is here, sort of where Bhutan and Nepal are, and that's sometimes called the Tibetan Plains. And depending on who you ask, depends on what this country is called. And the reason for that is in 1950, China invaded Tibet and wanted Tibet to be part of China. So at the moment in Tibet, Tibet is full of Chinese soldiers because they think that Tibet should be part of China. However, some people think that Tibet should still be Tibet and not be part of China. And they live here and here at the, basically on the, if you imagine the Himalayan mountains, it's on the side of the Himalayan mountains. And depending on what your political view is, Tibet is called Tibet or Nepal and Bhutan. Also in this story is someone called the Dalai Lama. Now the Dalai Lama is Buddhist and he's head of the Buddhist religion. And he used to live in Tibet but had to leave Tibet for his own safety in 1950. So he's now in exile. We'll call it being in exile because he can't live in Tibet anymore, because if he did, he'd be arrested by the Chinese soldiers. But he is a really, really important person because he's head of the Buddhist religion. He's meant to have enlightenment, which is the pinnacle if you are a Buddhist. So you need to know a little bit about that before I start the story. So this is what a Tibetan town or village would look like. And as you can see, there are the Himalayan mountains here. And we've got a little village here on the side of the mountain. A lot of places in Tibet look like that. And here is what the Himalayas look like. There we go, with the highest mountain in the world. Do you know what the highest mountain in the world is called? I'll let you look that up. Okay, but that's a photograph of it there. Also in this story involves a very famous Tibetan animal, which are called yaks. And yaks look like this. So we've got a brown yak. And we've got a white yak. Can you see it there? And they are beasts of burden, which means they are used to help with farming and to carry people from here and there. But don't let that fool you. That doesn't mean that people in Tibet, in the past, they have mobile phones and cars and satellite and all that sort of thing. But the traditional Tibetan beasts of burden are the yaks. So don't think that people live in Tibet don't have technology or don't think in a modern way, because they do. It's just what a traditional yak would look like. Okay. And as well, just before I start the story, this is it's quite a thick book, although there are quite a lot of illustrations in this book. There are some quite scary elements, particularly at the end of this first section that I'm going to read to you. So I would suggest that if you get a little bit frightened by certain things, perhaps don't listen to this story. It's ideally aimed at children who are in year 2 or higher. Okay? So, Running on the Roof of the World, set in Tibet by Jess Butterworth. I particularly like this book because this book is to anyone who has ever felt too small to make a difference. Chapter 1, Rules. My feet pound against the gravelly path as I dash through the barley fields enclosed by the mountains. The wind bites, stinging my nose and my cheeks. When I've been stuck in school all day, racing Sam home is my favourite thing to do. I stick my arms out and soar like the golden eagles. My fingers rustle the barley stems. It disturbs the stink bugs and they fly out buzzing into the air. My school bag thuds against my back. Tash, shouts Sam, stop! I'm not falling for that again. I focus on the uneven ground, dodging the stones and leaping across the dips in the earth. Falling over now will be the ultimate defeat. Soldiers, hisses Sam. Please stop, Tash. I raise my head and my stomach drops. 30 yards ahead of me are 3 soldiers. I recognise them immediately. Spaniel, Wildface, and Dagger. I dig my heels into the earth, but my right foot slips and I crash to the ground. Sam's footsteps slow behind me. Are you all right? He whispers. I nod and hold my breath, willing the soldiers to keep on walking. Rule number 1, don't run in front of a soldier. Spaniel turns, his hand on his rifle. He spots me and taps Dagger on the shoulder. They stride towards us, getting closer and closer. 3 hard faces glower at me. I lower my eyes to the ground, fighting the urge to glance up. Rule number 2, never look at a soldier. The pebbles crunch under their heavy boots. Get up, hisses Sam, shaking my shoulder. I can't get my body to move. The footsteps slow. The soldiers bend over me. What's going on here? Asks Dagger softly. Sam's hand is gripping my arm. I stand on shaking legs before them. Going home, I said. I tripped. Rule number 3, say as little as possible. They always try to catch you out. You know it's against the regulations to run. Spaniel's nose twitches. His rifle points straight at me. Everybody at school says he can sniff at anyone who's broken any rules. Maybe we should take you to the Wu Jing and you can tell them where you were running to, he says. People taken to the Wu Jing police station never return. Sam's eyes dart, and I know he's hunting for an escape route. We could dash into the fields, but with all the checkpoints, they'd soon find us. What about you? Says Spaniel, pressing his face close to Sam's. You think you can run and get away with it? Sam's breath is heavy. Spaniel stays rooted to the spot for what feels like forever. I look upwards. The wind dies down and the clouds pause in the sky, waiting for something to snap. Muffled voices blare from the satellite phone slung on Dagger's belt. He raises it to his ear and he turns to the others. The crowd's big at the market, they need backup. We'll be watching you, Spaniel warns. Come on, let's go. The soldiers march back down the path into the town. I want to run and scream and kick at them, but I stay silent, clenching my fists. Are you okay? I ask. Sam nods. You? Yeah, I say, hearing my voice quiver. We all have our way of protesting against the soldiers. Mum sings songs about what it was like when she was a child before they arrived. Dad scribbles cryptic leaflets for the resistance movement. As for me, there are 2 words that are banned in Tibet. 2 words that can get you locked up in prison without a second thought. I think these words often. Sometimes I even say them. I watch the soldiers tramping away and call the words after them. Dalai Lama, Dalai Lama. Chapter 2. Crowd. My words melt into the air, up to the snowy Himalayas around us. My skin tingles. The Dalai Lama is the leader of my people. When I say his name, it's as if he's protecting me, all the way from India where he lives in exile. I can't believe you just said that, Sam says. What? I ask, snapping a piece of barley in half and picking at the kernels. You say it too. Never with soldiers near. Do you know how close that was? I kick at the pebbles, scattering them. Sam doesn't look different, but recently he's changed. I realise we've stopped in the middle of the path. Rule number 4, don't draw attention to yourself. Walk next to me, I say. Sam waits while I catch up to him. We walk in unison, taking slow steps. I hum to myself like Mum does, trying to be as ordinary as possible. The winding path home takes forever. Sam's silence makes it drag. We're almost at the checkpoint before the corner in the main square. There's a fence to ensure that everyone going in and out of town is monitored. I reach into my pocket for my school papers. Sam halts and raises his hand for me to stop. There's no one there, he says. I creep closer. Sam's right. The chairs are empty and one of them has fallen onto its back. Where did everybody go, I ask. I scan the land around us, spotting the purple skirts of women bent over in the fields picking out the weeds. A yak herder whistles beside the stream trickling down from the glaciers, but there's no sign of any soldiers. Those are the yaks, remember. Should we wait? Asks Sam. The mining trucks growl in the distance. Let's go, I say, crossing in front of the checkpoint. We need to get home. Just as we pass, sirens blare close by. It must be coming from the town, shouts Sam. He grabs my hand, pulling me past the fence. We race round the corner and into the main square. Usually after school, the square is busy with people shopping, sharing food and laughing. But today it's different. Everyone is gathered in the middle, pressing against each other. They face the same direction, watching something. Silence ripples through the group, and there are no smiles. I stand on the outer side where the crowd is thinner and scan faces, checking for Mum and Dad. An old lady holding hands with 2 toddlers hurries past us away from everyone. I spot Dad's friend Dorji, who always gives me a lump of rock sugar to share with Sam when I buy supplies for Mum. He's walking stiffly into the huddle of people. Soldiers wrestle their way through the crowd, gripping their rifles. I swallow, trying to ignore the sinking feeling in the pit of my stomach. We stop next to the vegetable shop. People scramble to get a better view of the commotion. Someone knocks over a box and carrots tumble across the dirt. What's happening, I ask, and stand on tiptoes. A man shakes his head. Still can't see. I look for Sam and he's gone, lost in the mass of people. I push past a group of women grasping at their striped dresses. Let me through, I cry as I dart in and out of the bodies. Finding an opening, I burst out of the crowd. A wall of heat rushes against my face. I see a fireball in the street. In the middle of the flames is a man. Chapter